Good evening, everyone. I'm joined at the podium by Colonel Jeffrey Noble, Cambridge Police Superintendent Colleen Wells, Detective Lieutenant Donnie of the Massachusetts State Police, and our Chief of Homicide, Adrian Lynch. Before we begin to talk about the specific facts of what happened this afternoon, and I know many of you have been up at the scene, I ask you to take a moment, both you and the viewers, to think about what it is that actually happened today. And to help do that, I'm going to provide an audio from the scene. Sometimes these situations can seem a bit impersonal. What you just heard was Memorial Drive in Cambridge at 1:30 on Monday afternoon. I would venture to guess that there is no one in this room who hasn't had occasion to travel along that stretch of Memorial Drive, particularly on a beautiful day like today, and to be aware of the traffic, the vehicular traffic, the pedestrian traffic, the traffic on the river. And I ask you to keep that in mind as we describe what it is that took place and the response that we saw on Memorial Drive today. Approximately 1:06 p.m. Today, Cambridge Police received a 911 call from the Boston Police. Boston Police was reporting that there was an individual who later was placed under arrest in this incident, who they believed was in Cambridge, that individual had been observed to be acting erratically, and that they believed the suspect to be in possession of a rifle. Massachusetts State Police began a response to that area on Memorial Drive, as well as Cambridge Police. By the time they were making their arrival, there was already an active shooter situation. That individual was already traveling down the middle of Memorial Drive. Cars were stopped in traffic. He was in the possession of that assault-style rifle that had been described, and he was actively firing in an erratic fashion at various vehicles along the road. In the course of doing that, two males in vehicles separately were struck by gunfire. As the state police were arriving, the trooper who was arriving in his cruiser, and a civilian, a former Marine, licensed to carry a firearm, while people were jumping from their cars, scattering in various directions. Remember, they're scattering while people are firing, while this individual is firing erratically. So they don't know where they're going to be safe. When troopers arrived, we discovered some individuals actually under their car, having tried to seek a safe place. The cruiser from which that trooper stepped was himself struck in the front post by a bullet from that gun. Both that trooper and that civilian, rather than going in one direction, went towards the suspect with their weapons to try to end that situation. Both the civilian and the trooper fired their weapons, and that suspect was struck multiple times in the extremities. The suspect was then treated on scene by those same officers who'd been attempting to end the situation. He was transported to a Boston hospital where he is being treated for gunshot wounds to the extremities. Both of those victims from separate cars are in Boston hospitals suffering from life-threatening injuries. That does not begin to address the trauma experienced by everybody who was out there, those individuals on the river, walking, pushing baby carriages, riding by. We know that that weapon had the capacity to have struck people on the other side of that river. There is no reason to suggest that there's any connection between this individual and any of the people who were in any of those cars that were struck. We are very early in this investigation. As you know from being at the scene, they're still processing. That scene stretches over a very long space along Memorial Drive. But we do know this, that a very high number of rounds, in the neighborhood of 50 to 60, were fired in a very short period of time. This incident lasted minutes, thanks to the actions of the trooper and that civilian. This incident occurred, as I said, in a very busy part of the afternoon with lots of people there. Clearly, people's lives were put at risk. The individual who was traveling along with that weapon, who fired those shots, an individual named Tyler Brown. Mr. Brown is in custody at the hospital. He's going to be charged with 2 counts of armed assault with intent to murder, possession charges with respect to the weapon, as well as a variety of other charges as we unfold what took place exactly, and we have a chance to speak to the many, many people who were out there. This, in the city of Cambridge, a relatively safe and certainly a vibrant community where people live, work, and travel through, what happened today cannot stand. And it is also important to recognize that this risk that's created by this firing of a gun, where people are nearby, is the subject of a bill that has been filed for the past 4 sessions to create an offense to punish a shooter who acts, as I would suggest to you was the case today, without regard for the risk of seriously bodily injury to another, but who shoots intentionally or recklessly and hereby causes a substantial risk of serious bodily injury. That is a bill we filed for the last 4 sessions. It has not been passed. We will be refiling that bill again this session, because that is the legislation that we need to address this kind of situation. We are asking 2 things at this point, both if there are individuals who may live in that area or may have been perhaps on a boat, in another car. We know that some cars turned around in an attempt to go the other way and get away from the situation, that if they have any video, they contact the Massachusetts State Police to turn over that video. As well, individuals involved in today's incident have asked that their privacy be respected as they attempt to deal with the trauma from what happened. I'm going to, at this point, turn the podium over to Colonel Noble.
Thank you, District Attorney. Good evening. I just want to take a moment and commend the incredible bravery that we saw today from the responding law enforcement officers. Today we saw, in a moment of crisis, we saw highly trained, highly prepared troopers and police officers responding to a very dangerous incident. I want to thank them for their service. We also will continue to support the District Attorney's Office through the investigation, and we will be providing any additional resources that the District Attorney and her team needs to complete this investigation. I was also struck by, as we learned about the events today, that although the responding trooper and police officers had a tactical situation that they encountered on coming under fire, the minute that the bullets stopped and the suspect was down, I also want to note that the police officers, the state police as well as the Cambridge police officers, immediately rendered aid and transitioned from providing a tactical response to a medical response to all those involved, including the suspect. Today, the troopers, the responding troopers and the Cambridge police officers responded to and exemplified, and their performance today exemplified the way that they are trained for this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Cambridge Police Commissioner Pauline Wells.
Hi, thank you for being here this evening. Today's events are something that we never hope to see in the streets of our community. And I also want to recognize the extraordinary response of the police officers along with our partners from the state police who ran toward danger without hesitation. and they worked together under incredibly difficult circumstance to help protect life during a very chaotic situation. Without their quick and selfless acts, today's situation would have been a lot worse, 50 to 60 rounds. Active shooter situations is something we train for, but we never want to see. Right now, we ask that you keep those officers in the community and the victims in this case, and all those impacted in your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Recognizing, as I said earlier, that we are very early in the investigation, I'll take a few questions.
Can you tell us anything about Mr. Brown, Tyler Brown, age, where he's from, etc.?
Mr. Brown is from Boston, apparently was in the process of moving here. We understand that Mr. Brown was under the supervision of either Massachusetts Probation Department or Department of Parole.
Was one of the victims who was shot driving a vehicle, was he driving an MBTA bus?
It was a ride type vehicle, yes.
And is that person one of the people that's in
Critical condition, yes.
How about the other person? What vehicle, kind of vehicle were they
A
driving?
sedan, their own personal
Was
sedan.
the black SUV that was on scene with shattered windows, did that belong to the suspect or another person?
We're still in the process of, as you saw, there are a number of vehicles out there, a number of vehicles with gunshot damage. We're in the process of piecing that all together.
Do you know
How
where?
about the mail truck that was later driven down the road onto Blackstone, but it has a gunshot, bullet in the front of the windshield? We're told that it was a close call for the mail carrier that
Yes,
was driving?
that's my understanding. And we'll, in the upcoming days, as we put this together, and ballistics, as you saw, is still out on the scene, we'll begin making some assessments of what vehicles were in damage, what injuries, any other injuries, things like that.
Do you know around how many vehicles may have been damaged?
I saw at least a dozen out there, including the state police cruiser, which took a gunshot right to the front post of the driver's side door, which entered right through that crease into the door. And as you saw, there was at least several other vehicles, a Lexus, a Jeep, a number of them that were damaged.
Do you know if Mr. Brown had been in?
Wait one second, I'll come right back to you. Somebody over here had a question.
It's all good. I was curious. We know that Cambridge Police got a heads up just before this happened. Do you know where he came from? How long was
Boston
he-
Police.
How long was he walking around with the gun? Did he drive there? Like, how did he get?
We're still looking at how he came to be there. It appears that it was relatively quick, because the entire incident from when the shooting started to when it was brought to an end is a very short period
Do you
of
have
time.
a car for him at that scene?
We don't know that yet, because we haven't, as you saw, there are a number of vehicles out there. People, obviously, in the panic of what was happening, fled and tried to get as far away from that scene. So we are matching people back up with vehicles. That's what they're still in the process of doing out there. Yes?
Do you know if Mr. Brown had been involved in an officer-involved shooting in the past?
We will address Mr. Brown's criminal record, if any, at the arraignment, but we do know, as I said, that he was under the supervision of probation or parole.
Do you know when you might anticipate the arraignment? Tomorrow? I know he's in the hospital.
I don't know enough about his condition to know whether either he'll be able to be transported or the court will go to the hospital to arraign him.
How about the weapon itself? What type of weapon it was? Was able to hold 50 to 60 rounds on its own, etc.?
It's still at the scene. Ballistics is still processing the scene. We do know that to be, just from seeing it, to be an assault style weapon.
Did he obtain the weapon legally?
We don't know that.
Do you know how many officers responded to the scene between the different agencies, and also how large the actual scene is?
The actual scene stretches approximately from the intersection of River and Memorial Drive down past the building owned by Harvard University along the river. So that stretch, however long that is. There were originally the state trooper who was responding. Cambridge was coming, as I understand it, in the other direction. Obviously, as people began to appreciate the magnitude of what had happened, the number of people hurt, the shots fired, agencies continued to respond. So there were originally, that trooper happened to pick up the dispatch and came. Cambridge had gotten the call, so they were in the process of responding. And then that multiplied as people began to understand what had happened.
We heard from some witnesses he might have been screaming or yelling something. Do you have any indication he might have been yelling something out either to those officers or people there?
If there is lots of noise on, as I'm sure you've seen, there's lots of videos, lots of noise, predominantly the sound of the gunshots. That'll be something we'll be looking at as to whether there are decipherable words over the course of the next few days.
When you said he was shot in the extremities, was that the arms, the legs?
That's all the information we got from the hospital, is that he sustained gunshot wounds to the extremities.
What
For
type
the
of condition,
MBTA
is it critical, life-threatening, or his condition?
He's got those injuries, as I understand it, he is in the intensive care unit.
For the
Yeah.
MBTA bus driver, are you able to say if that MBTA bus is currently being investigated at Cambridge Hospital? That's the bus involved?
If the bus is at Cambridge City Hospital,
At Cambridge Hospital?
I believe the bus was at Cambridge Hospital at some point. That individual has been transferred to a Boston area hospital.
And are you able to say if the driver drove himself to the hospital or?
Not at this point, no.
The audio clip you played us, was that from a body cam or was that from a resident? Or can you tell us where that audio came from?
I think that's a residence, somebody in one of the buildings along Memorial Drive.
How important will the video be in terms of trying to put the investigation together?
I think, first of all, we have hundreds of witnesses, literally, that will be in the process of being interviewed over the next several days. Obviously, the various videos, as well as other footage, gives us a very clear picture, as does the audio that we've been able to obtain. So this is a situation where there is lots of information about what happened.
Can you tell us more about the civilian that stepped up to try to help? You said former Marine, what his name was and what his situation?
We are protecting the privacy of that individual at this point, as he processes obviously what happened.
And how about the trooper that was also involved?
It is not our practice to release the names of troopers in this early stage of the investigation.
Where was that civilian when the shooting first took place?
I'm sorry?
How close to the shooting was that civilian when it started? Was he?
All I know is he was in the traffic on Memorial Drive as the individual is alleged to have been walking down essentially the center line.
And in the audio, was that the sound of two different types of gunshots from the trooper, the civilian, and from the suspect?
That's what it appears, and we'll be doing more work on that audio as well.
Just to confirm injuries, you said 2 were shot, both of those victims were driving at the time?
Yes.
And they both have serious life-threatening
They have life-threatening injuries,
And then
yes.
the suspect is also injured?
Yes.